as we go now. Ooh, glory, glory, glory. God be with us into another lesson. Most people on the earth now, in their imagination, they willfully understand and do not know. So they ask themselves a question. Where in the world did God come from? We have to realize in our study that God created himself. But there was a time now when the world was in total darkness, and there was no light at all. But one day, God, a holy God, decided now, as he thought about coming and creating all things. So where was he? We have to simply ask ourselves a question. Where was he? God was down there in a place called the deep. He was in a place called the deep, and he had a door over it, so no light would escape out of from where he was. He was, yes, in the deep. And it was deep darkness, and there was no light at all. Could escape it. And while he was down there, what was he doing? He was down there mixing chemicals. God is a chemist. So he was down there. Yes, he was. He was mixing chemicals and making things and little toys that operated as a living being. God was sitting down there in the deep, in his royal chamber, and he was just making things and thinking about how he wanted everything to be performed and operated when he came out from the deep. And one day, God decided now that all things was finished. His work down there while he was in the deep was finished, and all things began to function just as God wanted them to. So he decided now to come out of the deep. And he had little baby Jesus down there in the deep with him. You see, God and his son now, they always was, and they always will be. They are eternal, living for eternity. They are eternal gods. Jesus and his baby son. So they decided now to come up out of the deep. So God took the lid off, and he started coming up out of the deep. And when the darkness, who was ruling the world, who was ruling over the universe, saw the light, and it could not comprehend the light, according to Genesis. And the darkness now became afraid, and it took off. It took off running from the light. And God came up, pure light out of the deep. And he saw that the darkness was running away from him, because the darkness felt that there was nothing but him. And God summoned it, and he called for the darkness, and he spoke to it. And the darkness and the light, they blended together and they began to cook. Oh, glory, 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 glory. And they cooked for thousands, hundreds of thousands of years. And the earth was performed and created from the light and the darkness mixed up together. And they kept cooking and kept cooking and kept on cooking. The God saw that that was good. So he went further. He called the elements together. And he created the heavens. He created all things. And he said to himself, yeah, that's good. Yeah, He said that that is good. He kept performing. He kept making. He kept going on and on and on. And he says to himself, that is good. He kept creating for 6 days. He created all things. All things that we see and we don't see. The things that are invisible and the things that are not visible, that we cannot see. And he created the heavens and the angels. God created them to obey him. But there was one that would not obey him. And his name was Lucifer. Lucifer would not obey him because he wanted power for himself. So he tried to take over heaven, and a war broke out, and he was cast down to the earth. Him, along with his angels, was cast down to the earth, and they are locked up in a pit for 1,000 years, but they are soon, oh glory, to be released from that pit. But all those who believe in him and follow him and obey his laws, because he says to us that his laws now have dominion over us as long as we live upon the earth. So now we are living epistles. We are a walking Bible. He placed his word in us, and he created Adam and Eve. And Adam and Eve, they both failed before God. But yet, God still loved them. Even in disobedience. God, oh glory, who is a holy and a righteous and a just God, will still love us as we fall. He will pick us up and start us over again on this pilgrim journey. He says to us that we are strangers now, just passing through. Our home is not here, but we will reign with him forever and forevermore. God bless.